The Special Operations Forces of the Ukrainian Army have captured another village in Russia's Kursk region. The fighters who fired artillery fire at the village where the Russian army was positioned together with the North Korean soldiers, then opened fire with small arms and advanced rapidly. As a result, the Russian and Korean soldiers in the village were destroyed, and the area was cleared and taken under control. It should be noted that the Ukrainian army entered the territory of Kursk region in August of this year and managed to capture several settlements, including the city of Sudzha. The Russian army uses the help of North Korean soldiers to clear the territory of the province from the Ukrainian army. In recent days, thousands of Korean soldiers have been killed and wounded in operations for this purpose.
From the decrypted notes from the captured notebook of a North Korean soldier who was liquidated in the Kursk region of the Russian Federation, it was revealed that the DPRK sends elite soldiers to war, which included the killed soldier. The fighters are also told that this is how they defend the homeland and get the opportunity to atone for their misdeeds before the country. This was reported by the Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Since defending the fatherland is the sacred duty of a citizen, and the greatest duty is to defend the fatherland, which is my happiness, I am putting on the military uniform of the revolution to defend the supreme commander. I was blessed to have the opportunity to be promoted as a senior sergeant in my company. However, I betrayed the native party that trusted me and committed ungrateful acts against the supreme commander, the liquidated private Geng Hongjong wrote in his notebook. In his notebook, the soldier also noted that he would unconditionally follow the orders of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the DPRK, Kim Jong-un. The SSO shared, "When we win the war and return to our homeland, I will submit a petition to the party," his notebook reads. Earlier, serviceman Kirill Sazonov said that DPRK soldiers kill themselves to avoid being captured by the Ukrainian armed forces. He believes that this is due to fear of reprisals against their families in North Korea. White House Representative John Kirby said that the United States has reported that North Korean soldiers fighting on Russia's side in the Kursk region against Ukraine are committing suicide to avoid being captured by Ukrainian defense forces. According to Kirby, both Russian and North Korean leaders treat North Korean soldiers as expendable and order them to carry out hopeless attacks on Ukrainian defenses. He noted that these soldiers are indoctrinated and persist in launching attacks even when it is clear they are futile. We also have reports that North Korean soldiers are committing suicide rather than surrendering to Ukrainian forces, likely due to fears of reprisals against their families in North Korea if they are captured, Kirby stated. Ukraine has created a Winchester drone with 2 guns to combat Russian drones, Forbes writes. Drones are constantly operating along the front lines in Ukraine. They perform reconnaissance, artillery fire adjustment, cargo transportation, and even strike the enemy with ammunition or direct contact. With both sides actively producing up to 100,000 drones per month, destroying enemy drones has become a critical task, using radio jamming, protective nets, and shooting down drones with firearms. The Ukrainian military is increasingly using its own drones to destroy Russian ones. They are used for aerial ramming strikes, dropping nets, or even direct weapon attacks. A new development is equipping drones with dual guns. As analyst Andrew Perpetua noted, the Ukrainian drone has 2 guns. Mounting weapons on drones is nothing new, but using 2 guns is an innovation. The Ukrainian Defenders Assistance Fund is raising funds to equip units with Winchester drones. This design makes practical sense. Although the guns don't have much stopping power, their wide range increases the chances of hitting, which is critical when fighting maneuverable targets. A few bullets are often enough to destroy a drone. During recent discussions about drones in the US, Senator Charles Scott noted, "Perhaps a gun would be an appropriate legal weapon to use against a drone." This is confirmed by experience at the front, where both Ukrainian and Russian units actively use rifles. Due to the lack of weapons, the military, including the Russians, sometimes ask for help from civilians. One occupier appealed to the Russians in the spring. Please help us with pump-action shotguns. Any crap will do. However, for infantry, the main problem is the proximity to the drone. The time to react is limited. Mounting guns on drones allows the Ukrainians to destroy Russian drones early on before they become a threat to ground forces. The war in Ukraine was essentially the first war with such active use of drones, from air to ground and even sea assets. Ukraine destroyed enemy infantry, equipment and ships with the help of such systems. In Ukraine, even the unmanned systems forces were created. The commander of this branch of the military is hero of Ukraine, Vadim Sukharevsky. The military man entered the history of the Russian-Ukrainian war as the first officer of the armed forces of Ukraine under whose command fire was opened to defeat Russian militants near Slavyansk in April 2014. Ukrainian manufacturers are actively developing this industry. For example, it was recently reported that Ukraine has completed the testing stage of new UAVs with fiber optic communication. They are capable of overcoming enemy electronic warfare systems. The resonant statement by Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev about the shooting down of the Azerbaijani Embraer E190AR aircraft caused a loud scandal. Aliyev openly accused Russia of attacking a civilian aircraft, demanding recognition of responsibility, punishment of the perpetrators and compensation for the victims. In response, Russian propaganda, including Z channels, burst out with insults against Azerbaijan, rejecting any accusations and hushing up key details of the tragedy. The plane was shot down by a missile, and before that it was subjected to an electronic attack, which is why it became uncontrollable. Russia is trying to hush up the murder of people, putting forward absurd versions about the explosion of a gas cylinder, Aliyev said, emphasizing that such actions discredit the Russian side. After Aliyev's statement, Russian propaganda, from war correspondents to anonymous telegram channels, exploded with a stream of aggression. Z propagandist Alexander Kots said that Azerbaijan should behave more diplomatically. Russian channels are publishing attacks on Baku en masse, recalling incidents in Syria, Karabakh, and the deaths of Russian peacekeepers. However, the plane crash has raised questions about why the airliner was not directed to a safe landing in Makhachkala, but sent on a route leading to a possible crash in the Caspian Sea. The incident was another blow to relations between Russia and Azerbaijan, which had previously seemed to be strengthening after the Kremlin made concessions to Baku. Now the row threatens to escalate into a serious aggravation. Azerbaijan openly demands recognition of Russian guilt. This is not the first time that Russia has been implicated in the downing of civilian aircraft. The tragedy with the Malaysian Boeing MH17 over Donbass remains an important topic of international discussion. Russian propaganda is already calling for the oppression of the Azerbaijani diaspora in the Russian Federation. This Russian propagandist, Roman Antonovsky, directly calls for taking advantage of the situation with the plane and dispossessing the Azerbaijani diaspora. Regarding the specific case of Aliyev's rudeness, it's an excellent reason to dispossess the Azerbaijani diaspora in Russia. They seem to have a lot of assets here, he writes. The propagandist calls for crushing the diaspora in Russia's neighboring countries if these states begin to take an anti-Russian position. As soon as a bordering neighbor behaves in an anti-Russian manner, we immediately suppress its diaspora in Russia, he adds. Ukrainian blogger Denis Kazansky notes, Antonovsky's statement shows that in Russia, not only do they not repent of the downing of the plane, but they are also calling for the oppression of the Azerbaijani diaspora. That is, there is not just any remorse or regret there. They are literally happy there and demanding that the Azerbaijanis be crushed even more. I have been saying for a long time that it is not about Ukraine. Russians simply hate all their neighbors, he wrote.